called in because my other half haven't seen since late Thursday night.
When the Marion County Sheriff's Office are called out to a missing persons search to locate 59-year-old Timothy Smith, they expect nothing more than a quick checkup. But when Tim's husband shows them the apartment he believes he's in, they come across a grim scene.
He's really dead?
Yes, ma'am.
At first, it looks like a tragic accident, but when police start digging beneath the surface, a far more sinister picture starts to form.
He's a narcissistic, tough guy.
You became very aggressive and upset because you couldn't him off.
What happened to Tim was no accident, and someone isn't telling the truth.
I don't want y'all to be suspects.
Officers from the Marion County Sheriff's Department receive a call on Saturday, March the 25th, about a missing person. Tim Smith, the executive director of a nearby assisted living facility, didn't show up for work the day before and seems to have vanished into thin air. His friends and colleagues have tried calling him over and over, but they've gotten no response.
He didn't show up for work yesterday. They've called, they've texted. Everybody's called and texted. We don't actually live here. This is his secondary apartment that he uses for his massage studio and other stuff. But his Jeep's been here, the girl's now saying, for almost 2 to 3 days. It hasn't moved, and we can't get a hold of him.
This is 57-year-old Herbert Swilley, Tim's husband, the one who called police. Herbert says the last time he saw Tim was Thursday evening when the two of them headed to bed. Nobody's seen or heard from Tim since. The only trace is his Jeep parked outside their secondary apartment that has been there for a few days.
When's the last time you saw him?
I went to bed on Thursday night, and I go to bed about 9:30. He finishes doing his medication. I would say about 11 I heard him get up, but that's not uncommon because he gets up and he'll go do Facebook posting for this stuff called Thrive, and he'll just relax and stuff, but I assumed he was still home.
Yesterday, Tim's friends called the police for a wellness check, but nobody had access to the apartment. It's only now, with a key from the landlord, that police can actually enter the residence, and the officers head inside.
Reference will benefit. Sheriff's Office. Sheriff's Office. Sheriff's Office.
It's exactly what everyone feared. Tim is lying dead on the floor, and judging by the state of the body, he's been there for a couple of days. There is a burn mark across Tim's neck, and he's only wearing his shirt and shoes. The officer cancels the medics and then heads outside to inform Herbert and Tim's friend, Tammy Warner, of the bad news.
There. Is he okay? Okay, he's in there, he's not okay?
Yeah.
In most of these cases, the reason for a person's sudden disappearance is either down to an unfortunate accident and often self-inflicted harm. The police need to gather more information to get an idea of exactly what's going on. The officer first learns the apartment isn't the couple's primary residence. It's a massage parlor, playhouse, where the two had hosted parties.
This is just his
Gotcha.
massage office, our playroom and stuff like that, because that's what this was set up for, so that way we could host parties occasionally.
Herbert's daughter is 20-year-old Jordan Swilley. She lives with Herbert and Tim and will tell the police that she, like her dad, hadn't heard anything out of the ordinary the night of Thursday the 23rd, the last time Tim was seen alive. The two have a secondary apartment set up away from their flat to keep more private activities away from Herbert's daughter. Considering the injury, the way Tim is being described, his sudden disappearance, and where the police found him, the officer on the scene believes this could be a tragic accident. Some kind of bondage play gone wrong while he was with a partner. Herbert notes that the key for the apartment, usually found on the keyring, is missing. That usually indicates Tim is away with a partner at the other apartment, usually someone he picked up on Grindr. That's why Herbert couldn't get in. After talking to Herbert a little bit, the police pick up on some more information to paint the scene a bit clearer. Tim and his husband never did drugs. They were several years sober. The risk of drug or alcohol-related induced overdose is pretty slim. Whatever went wrong, Tim was probably fully lucid. Herbert also mentions that he and Tim were in pretty good shape. Herbert points out that Tim has a gun, but it's back at their home. The chance of self-inflicted harm is reduced as a result. If Tim wanted to hurt himself, the odds are good that he would have used his handgun.
I know for a fact his gun is not in the black bag because it's sitting on the dresser at the house.
Okay.
That I know for a fact.
The officer takes Tammy Warner, Tim's friend and colleague, aside to ask some more questions.
We work together. We've just worked together in the medical field forever. We've been close friends with her and Tim for 10 years or longer.
Something we can get up.
When's the last time you seen him?
Thursday.
What time was it?
We were at work together, so I think I saw him all day.
What time did he leave work?
Usually leaves around 5.
I put it in blinds. I've done a lot of stuff that way.
Have you talked to him since then?
Well, that's what all started all this, because yesterday he wasn't answering us. So we were at work and he wouldn't answer anybody. So I called her to find out if he knew where he was at. And so Herb came over and tried to knock. I come over and knocked.
When were you here?
I was here this morning.
I don't know the protocol.
I came this morning hoping maybe he would open the door.
Kind of like I know what I can.
What time were you here?
Probably about 9:30.
Have you ever seen him, or have you ever been here and he's been here with anybody else, or do you know anybody else that came over
This is
here?
the first time I've come here. Herb told me about it this morning. I was at work. He's really dead.
Yes, ma'am.
Her version of events checks out. Right now, everything points to this being an unfortunate accident while Tim was away playing with a partner. There are still some issues police are wondering about, possibly if something else might be at play. At first, the initial look at Tim's body revealed an obvious neck injury, but when the police investigate further, they see more. Facial trauma, ligature marks. If Tim did die during an encounter, it would have to have been pretty exceptional to leave marks like these. These marks are usually evidence of a direct assault. Second, the apartment feels off. The police notice that it doesn't look lived in, that objects are placed in full view, and that it looks like some parts may have recently been cleaned. Not exactly the kind of things you would expect to see in the remnants of a late-night encounter. It almost looks staged, and like someone had been covering their tracks, or at least trying to. Third, if Tim was at the playhouse for an encounter, that means someone else was with him. Why did they not report this incident to the police? This is their first lead. The officers decide to start interviewing the people that knew Tim and try to find out if anyone could have been in the apartment with him at the time of his death. The more they follow this case, the more they realize someone is trying to throw them off course. Before they start any interviews, police receive a tip. This is Alex Ezel, a licensed massage therapist and one of Tim and Herbert's friends. The tip alleges that Herbert had ordered a massage from Alex. At the end of it, Alex offered a little more, but when Herbert refused, he became incredibly aggressive and angry.
I'm trying to parse through and trying to understand this message here that someone, I'm not going to say who, is alleging that Alex Ezel wanted a happy ending, aka sex massage from Mr. Swilly. Did you ever try Herbert? Did you ever try to do something sexual with Herbert?
Oh, I asked him if he wanted a happy ending.
Yeah.
But he said no, so that was it.
And he didn't want to. He said no.
Right.
what you're being described as becoming very aggressive and upset for being turned down at the end of the massage. Were you upset that he?
Oh, I didn't care regardless.
Okay.
The police know Alex and Tim had been in contact a few times already. They wonder if it's possible Alex was the one who was with Tim when he died. They sit him down and start asking questions.
How long have you known Tim?
He became my client early December.
Oh, so only since 2022?
Mm-hmm.
So not that long.
No.
Describe it to me. Tell me about him.
Recently lost a bunch of weight with bariatric surgery. He wears that vitamin patch all the time. Pretty skinny, frail, varicose veins on his lower legs. Pretty pleasant guy. Met his partner Herbert.
Okay, so pleasant guy. Okay, tell me about Herbert.
I've only met him once. He seemed like a really nice guy. He works I think he does construction or does like odd jobs. But I just met him for I just did one session with him for about 90 minutes.
When was that?
That was for Herbert's birthday. I think that was December or January. I have to look at my dates.
Okay. Had you ever spoke to Tim on his phone before or anything like that?
Yeah.
And describe to me like what kind of services, what you would do with Tim, or what it would be.
Just massages.
Okay. And where would those happen at?
His first happened at my RV trailer when I first moved here in November. The 4-house apartment complex.
Okay, you're describing like a quad.
Right.
Okay, a quad unit apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when was the last time you were there?
I think the 17th.
And when was the last time you spoke with Herbert?
Ooh. Oh, I messaged him after I found out that Tim died from a mutual friend. They were friends together, and he notified me, and I told him I'm sorry. And then I saw Herbert posted about it was considered a murder. And he said if anyone knew any information about it. I was like, well, I massaged Tim on the 17th. If that's important, let me know.
This is important. Herbert posted on social media that the police believe something more was at play regarding Tim's death. This is how Alex found out, as well as through a mutual friend.
Now I've gone through Grindr and Grindr and Adam for Adam have gone through several different applications. Did you and Tim ever have a sexual relationship?
He blew me after massages, but not all the time.
Was that every one of them, or
No.
was there anything on March 17th?
He blew me after the massage.
Okay. Was there ever any? Was this a consensual act? Did he?
Yeah, it's always consensual.
Did he ever talk to you about? Was this something that him and his husband were okay with, or?
Yeah, they're an open relationship.
Describe to me how he would describe their relationship in that manner.
They just said that they were open. They had the house. They sometimes had group events that came over to his house and played.
Alex notes that he has been to the secondary apartment where Tim was found dead and that he knows what it's used for. On top of that, Alex tells the police that he's engaged in acts with Tim before and has a Grindr profile. It seems like the pieces may be falling into place, so police ask a few more questions, but his answers aren't what they expect.
So, a happy ending would be you doing something to him, right?
Right.
Okay, and specifically, what would you do to him?
Just him off.
Okay, and so what's being alleged in this we'll call it an anonymous message here, is that you became very aggressive and upset because you couldn't him off.
No, I wasn't upset at all.
Okay. Have you ever had any? Is there any arguments or problems with Herbert or anything like that?
Never. I only met him once. That day, his birthday massage. He said he he was on a work job,
Uh-huh.
and he met someone in a trailer and played with him prior,
Uh-huh.
and he says he wasn't interested.
Okay.
Okay.
So he had did something earlier that day and he just wasn't interested.
Right, so.
Was that also at the apartment that we talked about?
No, I think that was at his job site.
That was at his job site.
Whatever he was working on.
Well, where'd you do the massage at? I should
It was
say.
as that quad place.
At the quad. Had you ever been to their primary residence?
No.
Alex is straightforward with the police, gives them all the information they've asked for, and doesn't seem nervous or anxious at all. When asked about the tip of him being aggressive, he calmly denies it. This isn't typical behavior you would expect from someone trying to cover up a murder. The police decide not to consider him a suspect, but they don't close the door on that possibility just yet. The police interview two more friends who knew Tim well, Kevin Branch and Candace Baker. The more police talk to those connected to the couple, the more suspicious they become of one person in particular. Kevin points out something that the police had learned before. Herbert runs a handyman business and has 2 trucks to help him haul his tools around for work.
Like, because he's a handyman, it's hard to get good handyman.
Mm-hmm.
And, it still didn't think I didn't think he would harm someone.
Mm-hmm. Now, when your clients are coming back after they've used him and they're reporting to you, he's not all there.
So Randy Schultz in my office saw that, and Herb has done business, repairs for him and his mom, and he couldn't use him anymore because his, just the angering attitude that they potentially saw.
Candace touches on this during her interview and makes a point that the police haven't considered.
Why didn't you go in? Why didn't you break in? You're a handyman. You could take the door off the hinges. You could break a window. It's your window.
But Kevin and Candace also point out something that will make the police really raise their eyebrows.
He did tell me in August that he was sick of Herbie.
August of last year?
Yes.
Okay, so August of 2022. Describe to me what he said in August of 22.
We went to lunch at Ivy House on a Saturday. I don't remember the exact date. I could probably figure it out from a picture in my phone.
Okay.
He said that he was just really sick of taking care of Herbie. He's been taking care of Herbie for over 10 years. Herbie doesn't pay any bills. Herbie thinks that if he buys $200 worth of groceries, that takes care of everything, and that Herbie was cheating on him, and that he's seen Herbie's phone with conversations with some young guy. And I don't mean kids when I say young. Everybody's young to me, but a younger guy. We didn't talk about that again. We went on a day date, Tim and I, January 29th, I believe. And I asked him, how are things at home? Are they any better? And he said, Herbie actually gave him insurance money, so Herbie's trying. And he thought they were, getting a little better.
And when you mentioned before Herbert jealousy, what indicators were there that made you think that?
The posture, the body language. I mean, if you ever could imagine picking that up on even a male-female couple just saying you're like talking to the woman and you could tell there's some jealousy there.
Okay. Did he ever vocalize that with you or discuss that with you?
No. That's my instincts, just reading body language and posture.
It seems there was trouble in the relationship. Kevin notes that a few times he felt Herbert was jealous of Tim. More importantly, Tim had been in an interview process for a more senior leadership role that would have meant relocating to DeLand. While his husband was in the hospital, Herbert gossiped to mutual friends about their relationship issues, something you definitely wouldn't expect from someone in a happy situation. Candace tells the police that Herbert had told the officers he and Tim were in a solid relationship, no troubles. Yet he wanted to collect all of Tim's guns to make sure he hadn't used them on himself. And the way he talked about Tim in the past doesn't match up with what he told police about their relationship.
So we both thought Tim would never hurt himself. So I'm on the phone with Herbie. He's like, Candy, while I got you on the phone, let me go around and find all the guns. See, he's walking. I can hear him say, okay, I got the gun out of his briefcase. He don't have that one. But this makes no sense because he just told the police at the wellness call that Tim isn't, nothing's going on in their marriage. Tim is not depressed. But then you want to come home and search for all the guns. He found the guns that were in the house. He said, okay, I got this one, I got this one. Then he said, let me go get the gun out of the Jeep. Now the Jeep is back at the crime scene. So he tells his daughter, get up, you're going to take me somewhere. They go in the car. I'm still on the phone.
Why does he get his daughter up to go out there?
To drive her. I don't know.
Why doesn't he just...
I don't
Okay,
know.
okay, so
I
he
don't
gets
know.
his daughter up to...
None of it makes sense. And Herbie said, well, Tim brings more guys over there than I do, and we're in an open marriage. And I said, you're what? I just, it could be true, Mr. Pender, but, well, Tim told me a lot of things, like, that were dirtier than that. So I don't know the truth on that.
So let's try to set understanding of what an open marriage is. So did he talk to you before about meeting other guys there?
No.
Okay. So when you're learning about
He
this
was going to do this business.
Yes, it was
where
a
men
business.
would come and pay to be whipped, to be in the swing,
Okay.
to whatever.
Okay. That was like that was a business
It was
thing.
so that's the way it began.
All right. And then Friday night you learned that this statement from Herbert that it was an open marriage.
There's clearly tension in the relationship that Herbert isn't bringing up to the police. Tim is described as outgoing, fun-loving, larger than life, while Herbert is known to be more introverted. In fact, both Kevin and Candace tell the police that Herbert isn't exactly a great guy, and he is prone to bouts of anger.
You've also described to me some of Herbert's behavior since you've known him in this 3 years. Let's talk about more specific the way that Herbert can get when he gets angry. Have you or anyone else that you know of ever felt that Herbert's behavior makes them scared or threatened?
If he's cornered.
Describe to me what he would do if he's cornered.
I look at where those instincts, those survival instincts, and where I can only look at my own behavior. I'm trying not to be judgmental here. I know I probably sound that way, but it's like the good wolf and the bad wolf, and it's like the little story with the grandfather and the grandson said, well, which wolf wins? It's like the one you feed the most. So for me, if I react to ego, I'll listen to the wrong instincts. If I continue to pray every day and try to fill in the goodness, that I don't, I'm calm and I don't overreact and respond and regret something. I'm going to say something I'm going to regret or be hurtful. But he didn't seem to have a control over that.
Is there anyone specifically that's ever felt scared of him?
People in AA, but there's been no... There was a guy, he blocked Jay apparently. There's a guy named Jay that was questioning him through Messenger on Facebook.
Herbie is not an emotional person. He's a narcissistic, old school cowboy wannabe, tough guy. If he hurts your feelings and you're crying, he'll be like, well, I don't know why the fuck you're crying. Like, you hurt your own damn feelings. Like, that's his apology.
Okay.
He's not very touchy-feely. They're complete opposite.
Candace also points out that Herbert's daughter, Jordan, told her Tim and her dad would fight all the time, and that her dad has been violent towards her mom in the past. There is another flaw in Herbert's story, however. Since the police found Tim's body, he's been telling everyone that he and Tim were in an open relationship. Candace, however, doesn't believe this. At this point, the police are convinced that Herbert is lying to them about his relationship with his deceased husband. They've learned that Herbert didn't like the idea of Tim taking on a new job and potentially moving away. Jealousy could easily be a motive in this case. But just because a marriage isn't going well, it does not mean that the husband is the killer. Herbert's version of the events still holds up, Then Candace tells the police something Herbert never mentioned, for good reason.
I think during the call to Sergeant Bartlett, you kind of talked about
Yeah.
that some. Describe to me what he was saying specifically.
So I asked him, I said, where are you?
Uh-huh.
He said, I'm at AutoZone. I said, what the fuck are you doing at AutoZone? Like, his behavior has been sporadic, and I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because everybody does grief differently.
Yeah.
But he says, I'm getting cleaning supplies. And to detail the Jeep. He's in the Jeep.
Yeah.
And I said, for what? And he says, Candy, your fingerprints are in that Jeep. A lot of our friends have their fingerprints in that Jeep. I don't want y'all to be suspects. I said, I'm not going to be a suspect. And he said, plus Tim spilled a smoothie, so I'm going to clean the Jeep. But then he said he wasn't going to bring the Jeep to you. He's going to take it to his lawyer. And that's when the next morning he took it to the lawyer and Jordan was calling me because y'all were at the house.
This is very troubling, and Herbert's reasoning for cleaning up the Jeep isn't very convincing. Couple this with some of the behavior after the discovery of Herbert's body, and the police start to become very suspicious. First, when the police first arrived on the scene, Herbert wasn't acting the way you would expect.
Just so you know, we obviously seeing what we're seeing, there's a lot of investigation and stuff that's just got to kind of try to figure out why we're here, what got us here, and what's going on. I'm sure you've already heard the news, right?
Told me he's deceased. That's what they told me.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
it.
All right. Yes, he is deceased. Just making sure that has been relayed to you. So it's going to take a little bit of work. So I'm just going to have to come talk with you, just get some background, stuff like that, and we'll just go from there.
I'll give you any information I
Sure.
can. Everything I can and everything.
So we just got to wait for detectives and stuff to get here and try to piece everything together so we can
Right,
find
try to
out
figure out what's going on.
exactly.
You know more, you'll know more.
Yeah. It is what it is.
This is a man who just learned that his husband is dead after 2 days of searching. Even in cases where there have been disputes in a marriage, the spouse receives the news of their dead loved one, it typically makes them distraught. Herbert is cool and doesn't seem perturbed. As Candace pointed out, he's not trying to break into the apartment with the handyman skills he possesses to search for Tim. He's waiting patiently. When he called for the wellness check the day before and was waiting outside the apartment, Herbert also did everything he could to discourage the police from actually entering the apartment, downplaying the situation as much as possible. Second, Herbert told the police that he was convinced Tim had met up with another partner that night and had gone to the apartment as a result. But when the detectives go through Tim's phone history, they don't find anything that suggests he had been up to meeting anyone that night. There's no good reason why Tim would have been at the apartment all Thursday night. Thirdly, Herbert is moving on quickly in the days that followed the death. He and his daughter Jordan threw out his belongings, he cleaned up the Jeep to remove fingerprints, and according to Candace, is not cooperating with police to find out who killed his husband. At this point, the police have enough to consider Herbert their prime suspect, but they don't have enough hard evidence to follow up on anything. Most is circumstantial at best, and they still don't have an explanation for how Tim ended up at the secondary apartment. Herbert might have acted strangely after his husband's death, but he still has an alibi, and police don't have a method just yet. Then, some things come in that turn the entire case on its head. The autopsy report done on Tim's body confirms what the police had initially suspected. His death could not have been an accident. The facial trauma, the neck burn, and the ligament marks, also the way his cervical vertebrae was broken, clearly show that he was the victim of an assault. But the autopsy reveals something far more interesting. The toxicology report shows Tim had an incredibly high amount of Benadryl in his system, 2,000 nanograms per milliliter of blood, 30 times the recommended therapeutic amount. This dose doesn't kill Tim, but it made the strangulation that did kill him much easier to perform. This is the final detail that confirms to police that the version of events Herbert has been pushing, that it was some kind of accident involving an encounter, is completely wrong. Herbert's story is falling apart at the seams, and the next wave of information is only going to make things worse. Back when police first answered the 911 call to the apartment, the officers on the scene asked neighbors for any surveillance footage they might have had. This was to see if Tim's Jeep had come or gone while they were looking for him. One neighbor's Ring footage camera didn't show much, but the police grew suspicious of Herbert's story. They asked for the surveillance footage in the surrounding area around Tim and Herbert's home. This turned out to be a huge deal. The camera footage showed that Herbert's white pickup, which he used for work, left the residence in the early morning hours of Friday, March the 24th. How can this make sense, though? Herbert says that he was asleep and had gone through his usual morning routine on Friday. It gets worse. Another camera located at the Triple Crown Trailers picked up the same white truck driving down the road in the direction of the apartment. The same thing was picked up from a gas station camera not too far away. But the most damning footage of all comes from the cameras surrounding the apartment itself. First, Tim's Jeep is nowhere to be seen. Herbert's truck pulls up and a man heads inside. Herbert heads back out, drives away, and then returns with Tim's Jeep to park it there before walking back home. All of this is corroborated by police using Herbert's cell phone details to triangulate his location at all times. There's no doubt about it. This is what Herbert was doing the night Tim died. Herbert's entire story has just collapsed. He definitely wasn't asleep or heading to the gym that morning. This appears to be what really happened. Thursday evening, Herbert was at home with Tim. After somehow administering him an extreme dose of Benadryl to weaken his senses, Herbert attacked his husband and killed him. He then loaded Tim's body into the pickup truck, drove to the apartment, and dumped him on the floor. Herbert set up the scene to make it look like Tim had been with someone else, but had made it too obvious and had even cleaned part of the apartment to get rid of his fingerprints. That helped to tip off police. He then got back in his truck, drove to their residence, got into Tim's Jeep, and drove it to the apartment to make it look like Tim had been there the whole time. Herbert did all of this out of jealousy. Jealousy, bitterness, and narcissism. Tim was a larger-than-life figure, beloved by all, friendly and innocent. Herbert was a nasty gossip, prone to bouts of anger, and was deeply insecure about his husband running away with another man. If Tim had done that, it would have left Herbert financially destitute. When Tim started interviewing for a new higher-ranking job that would mean relocating, Herbert could not allow this to happen. So he murdered his husband in cold blood and then tried to frame it as an accident. Luckily, Herbert's cruelty and jealousy didn't match his intelligence. He left behind a huge paper trail for police to follow. Police immediately placed Herbert under arrest after reviewing the footage, and the state of Florida charged him with first-degree homicide. It's only during his trial that we learn another one of Herbert's tricks. Remember Jordan, his daughter? She told police that she had slept soundly through the night on Thursday, March the 23rd. While testifying at Herbert's trial, however, Jordan tells the jury that she did hear a strange noise during the night, but that her father had told her to tell the police she hadn't heard anything at all. Not only that, Jordan testified that she had been asked by her dad to drive him to the apartment. When the car stopped at the gas station, seen in the surveillance footage, Jordan claimed that her father threw away some kind of pill bottle, possibly filled with the drug Herbert used to sedate Tim. After the deed was done, Jordan said that Herbert started throwing out all of Tim's belongings and trying to claim his life insurance payouts to support his lifestyle, which came to a staggering $330,000. Candace Baker also took the stand during the trial and confirmed that when she went around to Herbert's place, the rug had been thrown out, allegedly because the dogs had peed on it.
Where's the stuff? And then I'm walking towards the kitchen island and I see that the area rug is gone in the other living room and the big coffee table. And I see that the little coffee table has been put in there, but the big wooden one is missing, a big square, heavy wooden one. So I said, where are the rugs and tables? And he said, oh, I got rid of that. The dogs peed on it. But him and her they've got a garbage can in the pantry. They've got the dining room table half full of stuff. They've got cabinets open.
When you say him and her, are you talking about Herbert and
Jordan.
Jordan?
With the overwhelming evidence piled up against Herbert and the obvious lies broken down, the jury delivered their verdict on September 15, 2025, 2 years after Tim's death. He was found guilty of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced Herbert Swilly to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Tim Smith was a man beloved by all who brought joy to everyone he met. His friends and family were distraught by his passing, and his loss was felt by all. It's a terrible shame that such a great life was cut short by narcissism and jealousy of the one closest to him. Our heartfelt condolences go out to the friends and family of Timothy Smith.